Well, a splendid welcome in a splendid setting for a truly splendid team, or squad we should say these days. And joining next season, Ruud van Nistelrooy, the Dutch striker, who's committed his future to Manchester United. United having to pay the best part of £20 million to secure his services from PSV. Well, it's a smile of contentment at the moment, but once the game gets underway, the motivator of Manchester United will want another win today. Let's just go through the teams quickly for you. And Sir Alec, well, he makes two changes from the side that started at Southampton. Ronnie Johnson hoping to put his injury problems behind him. With his first start of the season, he replaces Jaap Stam, who is rested, while Dwight Yorke comes in for Andy Cole up front. Chelsea are without Gus Poyet, who scored twice in the 5-0 victory over United in October. Ferrer, Babayaro and Desailly also missing from the regular back four. So Mario Melchiot from Ajax, he was signed last summer. He finally made his debut against Middlesbrough on Saturday, and he stays in the side today. Dan Petrescu and Deschamps return in midfield, and Torre Andre Flo replaces Chris Sutton in attack. Presentations here for the sponsors of the league. Player of last month, Dwight Yorke, and the manager of March, Sir Alec Ferguson. But no trophy presented today. They're holding that back for the last home game of the season against Tottenham, which takes place on May the 6th. Dwight Yorke could reach a milestone today. He scored 49 goals in his brief time with Manchester United. Also on 49, incidentally, David Beckham. Well, it's the first of 3 games for Chelsea against clubs above them. They're at home to Liverpool this coming Saturday, then away to Arsenal. And of course, Gianluca Vialli has steered the club through to the FA Cup final against Aston Villa. So it's Flo and Zola up front for the side, as I say, that beat Manchester United 5-0 back in October. Who would have thought that the conquered would conquer the rest of the league so convincingly since then? And they have swept to this championship on the back of 7 successive league victories. 87 goals they've scored in total, 34 games. Well, maybe not quite the title decider that it promised to be. Not the rehearsal it might have been for this season's Champions League final. But there's always plenty of promise in the air when Manchester United do meet Chelsea. And there is that 5-0 defeat to avenge for a start. And indeed, Manchester United have scored against every Premiership opponent this season except Chelsea. Just that one game, of course, at Stamford Bridge. And on board at left-back, Frank Leboeuf, who didn't play against Middlesbrough on Saturday. He was amongst the substitutes then. He's in the starting 11 alongside Emerson Tom, who's on the ball here, who was in a Sheffield Wednesday side that lost 4-0 on this ground earlier in the season. Lovely midday sunshine, keeping with the time of year, and the spring very much in the step of Manchester United. Chelsea will hope to find their own motivation here. They do have an excellent record at Old Trafford. Just 2 defeats in the last 24 times they've played here in the league. Here's Melchiot with a cross, too high for Gary Neville. Zola, And a fine save from Torre-Andre Flo by Raymond van der Gaal. A little slow to start here, the champions. And Chelsea creating an opening within a matter of seconds, and Torre-Andre Flo's header diverted away by the goalkeeper, who continues to stand in for the injured Mark Bosnich, Raymond van der Gaal. He comes with a solid right hook to the ball there. He was a very pleased man on Saturday, his 10th league game against Southampton. That qualifies him for a winner's medal in the Premiership. Flo, too high for Zola by some distance, and it wasn't particularly high, the cross. Here's Philip Neville. Silvestre. A significant game for Ronnie Johnsen, there's no doubt about that. Really serious knee trouble since the Champions League was won in Barcelona 11 months ago now. He came on as a substitute at the Dell on Saturday and looked understandably rusty, but Sir Alex Ferguson giving him the chance to play a full 90 minutes here. York. Gary Neville. Wise. The accompaniment that often follows him in away games, the abrasive Chelsea skipper. It's a test for Johnsen. The ball just weighted above him by Zola's pass. For Flo, strides on, and there's no sentiment for a fellow countryman there from Torre-Andre Flo. Ronnie Johnsen still looking for the sharpness to prevent maybe that sort of run, which he would do when he's fully up to match fitness. Maybe he would have cut the ball out initially. That was Zola's cross earlier. And another view on a fine tip over from close header by Van der Gaal. Silvestre, Keane trying to help it on. York. And, Wise stepping in, not for long though. Spain really coming very quickly on the heels of what celebrations the players were allowed down on the south coast. There was certainly a bottle or two of champagne opened at the Dell. York. Steve Dunn is the referee, incidentally. And he's called that a foul by Leboeuf on Dwight York. And immediately David Beckham, looking for goal number 50 in his Manchester United career. That's maybe a perfect opportunity to do it, given that so many of those goals have come from free kicks. The majority from this sort of angle, but Giggs is there as well. Referee concentrating on getting the wall back. It is Beckham into the wall. Wide to Philip Neville, who turns encouragingly. Flo only half away with the clearance, but Giggs. Well, not quite, according to the David Beckham manual. The attempt from the free kick. Deschamps. Nice movement by Zola. Flo couldn't really chase that, he knew he was offside. There was no other runner for Chelsea. Ray Wilkins, who moved as a player from Chelsea to Manchester United, alongside the manager on the Chelsea bench. Has had foot injury. It's really been the reason Chelsea fans have had to wait so long to see a player who came with a fine reputation from Ajax. Silvestre. Keane. And Petrescu barring the way forward for Manchester United. Four more games then for the club already crowned as champions, including today, and Sir Alex Ferguson has called for Manchester United to win them all, to finish with a real flourish. They haven't got any finals now to look forward to out of the Champions League. You'll know that they didn't enter the FA Cup this season to defend that particular prize, which was a topic of much discussion. Keane. Gary Neville. York. But there's no flag against Roy Keane. But the only man he could pick out with the cross was a goalkeeper who was full of anticipation there, Ed de Goey. But Gary Neville off Leboeuf. Corner for Manchester United. Chelsea lost track of Roy Keane. It must have been close as far as offside was concerned, but the flag stayed down. Neville got a good foot in there, but so too defensively did Wise. Deschamps. Gabriele Ambrosetti playing on the left of Chelsea's midfield. And Petrescu moving across from the right in that particular move for the visiting team. It's a poor kick by Ed de Goey. Ryan Giggs maybe half thought about going directly with a shot for goal, but he's made a run towards goal. York has missed it. In any case, he was offside. He was offside. That spares the blush. Giggs' mind working overtime, really. He knew where the goalkeeper was when he controlled it, had a look, decided that it would be too speculative, then ran past two and decided that York was better placed, but in fact he wasn't, because he was offside. Damaged hand for Frank Leboeuf. When you look at Ryan Giggs as one of the senior figures here, with 6 championship mementos to his name, he's still only 26 years old, and there's so much more mileage left in this group of players. The manager says is the best that he's had to work with, and that's quite a compliment to them. Butts ball forward, Lombard doing the necessary. Chelsea player actually made his debut for the club on this ground. Oh, and Ed de Goey! Goal for Dwight York. The embarrassment now with the goalkeeper. Ten minutes gone. And Manchester United have been getting goals all sorts of ways this season. Well, that's one of the stranger ways. It's not the first time that de Goey's been caught out in the Premiership in this way. If I remember, his early days at Stamford Bridge were blighted with a similar mistake that allowed Southampton to score against him. But it's Dwight York, it's his 50th goal for Manchester United, and one he'll certainly never forget. So here's Zola. Petrescu's offside. It happened while Frank Leboeuf was off the field, but that's no excuse as Gianluca Vialli looks towards his embarrassed goalkeeper. So that's 88 in the Premiership so far for the champions, and 3 still to go. Try and reach the 100, but here's Zola looking to equalise. Well held. He would have felt it was a decent enough save if he'd parried it away, Raymond van der Haar, but the handling was expert. Flo is offside, so the two Dutch goalkeepers here with very differing experiences in the opening exchanges. A couple of excellent pieces of work from Raymond van der Haar. As for Ed de Goey, well, something that will go down in the annals of goals between Manchester United and Chelsea. Giggs. Keane. But York. Oh, had runners either side, and in fact Butt was better placed from the other, Solskjaer. Neville. Well, one thing about that, he won't need to be told what went wrong. One of the goalkeepers who learnt his trade when footwork wasn't quite so vital. The laws of the game changed. Younger goalkeepers coming into the game now know how to deal with those situations more naturally, shall we say. Every kick is going to be greeted here with some sort of reaction from the Manchester United fans, who will be hoping that the Chelsea goalkeeper is now a nervous wreck. I doubt that. He's a pretty calm character. Wise. That's more like the Ronnie Jodson, whose pace at the back made him a very important figure in Manchester United's treble-winning side last season. Giggs. Here's Tom. Now Melchiot. An all-purpose player, really, anywhere along the back line and the centre of midfield as well. Giggs. Straying in from the left-hand side to get involved. Early ball from Beckham. Problem for Frank Leboeuf. But he got out of it well. And Leboeuf telling the goalkeeper he could have picked that one up, because it came off the defender's knee and not off his boot. Maybe you can understand the tentative reaction from the goalkeeper, who wanted to show at least he could kick it with his left foot some distance. Giggs lets it run. Solskjaer, Leboeuf's challenge. Petrescu. Here's Zola. It's a little bit flat, Chelsea's approach there. I mean, the players were in the same line across the pitch. Flo on the right, Ambrosetti in the centre, and Deschamps got forward as well. But one ball took them out of the equation. York. Here's Giggs. Keane darting into the centre. Solskjaer's already there. Giggs goes on. It's a good leap by Emerson Tom. Giggs again. But Philip Neville's cross. It's come all the way to Beckham. Chelsea will be annoyed about that. They'll be happy, though, that Butt has blazed it into the crowd. He's enjoying his day, and well he might. Flow. Wise. Just to reaffirm to you that the mistake by Ed de Goey, not through any end-of-season complacency. Chelsea still need to go for winning all their remainder in the fixture list, because you don't get in the Champions League unless you finish in the top three. They were third last season, and of course made good capital of that qualification. And it is possible that they could finish fifth, lose in the cup final, and not actually qualify for Europe at all. So this is a time that they've got to still be productive. They wouldn't, even with one or two regulars not available today, be too much in awe of Manchester United, because they've got international talent aplenty. Men like Deschamps, who've played here before for other clubs in big European nights. Here he is. And Flo is onside this time. And Phil Neville's got to get across, and he didn't stop the shot. Torre-Andre Flo taking it early. And he's got the technique to do that. He's Chelsea's top scorer with 18 goals this season. But strangely, he hasn't scored in the Premiership since early in January. All his recent goals coming against Barcelona, which of course is good for the career record. Melchiot. Leboeuf taking a bit of a risk. You're quite entitled to make a challenge there. Now Leboeuf, who's already been off for treatment, during which Dwight Yorke tackled the ball past the goalkeeper to give Manchester United the lead. The Frenchman in need of help again, and a dressing down for Dwight Yorke from Steve Dunn. The delay giving the Manchester United fans a chance to air their celebratory chants. Well, he was coming from an angle where he wasn't likely to reach the ball. There was only a chance of getting there with the left foot. It was the right foot that came on through that did the damage, and that's what the referee didn't like. Certainly Leboeuf didn't like it. Interesting to just plot the progress psychologically of Frank Leboeuf here, as if he stays on. He's in the French squad. They've got an international in a couple of days' time. He flies back to his native country straight after this game. That's why, incidentally, it's kicking off so early for the 48-hour rule for Wednesday's games coming up for various countries, including Denmark, and Jes Hu, who is the defender on the bench, who would replace Leboeuf if his day is done and dusted here. He's coming back on, and as I say, keep your eye on him, because once or twice before he's been involved in disputes with the Manchester United players. I recall an altercation with Beckham. bang in the face, and the free kick given against him. Flo trying to fasten on to Zola's touch. Here's Lombard with a throw. Looking for Flo. And Petrescu trying to make something for himself here. He's done that. He's made himself an equaliser for Chelsea. So in the 22nd minute, it's 1-1. Manchester United reacting sluggishly at the throw in the first place. Hopeful from Flo, but Petrescu with a steely challenge, and it dropped very nicely for him, having got the better of Philip Neville, and he thrashed it past Van der Hout to give Chelsea an equaliser here at Old Trafford. Wise. Here's Silvestre. Beckham. A lovely ball for Solskjaer. York in the centre. Now Giggs. Couldn't find Butt. Leboeuf in the way. Manchester United trying to respond like the champions they are, having lost the lead. A lead strangely gained. Not fortuitously, because Dwight York went in with very much that in mind with the goalkeeper. The opening goal of the game, but not the only goal of the game, because Dan Petrescu has had a say here for Chelsea. Flo. Deschamps. Wise. Offside. And Rossetti. Maybe Flo as well. Manchester United without the steadying influence of Jaap Stam. They do have the range in the passing of David Beckham, beautifully delivered. Giggs supporting Solskjaer down the outside. Tidied up by Leboeuf. Beckham. Three forward for Manchester United. And Melchiot didn't defend decisively. It is a corner. He was in a position area where he could have just booted the ball away. Now he's not the quickest off the mark at the corner, which has allowed Beckham an opportunity to try and bamboozle Ed de Goey. That very sluggish Chelsea defending. Look at the space that Beckham had. And he gave it that little flick of the eyes, David Beckham, to get the goalkeeper going one way, sent the ball the other. Giggs. Philip Neville can batter this one. He's only scored one goal in the Premiership, and that was against Chelsea, not here but at Stamford Bridge over a couple of years ago. Massive construction that is the new Old Trafford, and more to come. The stadium in keeping with the stature of the club that it houses. Beckham. Wise slipped. Got beyond Deschamps, but Lombard helped Chelsea out. Wise again. Now Deschamps. That's a probing ball from Didier Deschamps to Gianfranco Zola. Philip Neville got back, anxious maybe to make amends for not stopping Petrescu equalising. It is one negative feature of Manchester United's season, I suppose. They've conceded more than 40 goals in the league. They do give the opposition a chance, but As we've pointed out to you before, their philosophy is, well, whatever they score, we'll score more. You've got to put that philosophy to the test now. It's level at Old Trafford. 1-1. Flow. Rossetti has gone into the centre. There's been good mobility by Chelsea in their attacking play. Flow. Zola hits Silvestre. Manchester United can't stop the ball coming back at them through Deschamps. Melchiot. One of those Ajax turns. Neville only headed it against Wise. It bounces back through to Van der Haar. Beckham. Well, that's a marvellous pass again to Giggs, trying to steer it back. He spotted Dwight York, trying to keep the pace of the move with a first-time cross back from the left. And Beckham coming across to involve himself with Giggs at the corner. Solskjaer just eased away. That's what the crowd were calling for. Wise having to deal with him again. And he has done. He gets the throw for Chelsea. Could be a big few weeks for Dennis Wise, captaining Chelsea in the FA Cup final, a trophy that he's held aloft before, and then a really good chance of being involved in the Euro 2000 finals with England. Just lent on Solskjaer then. And then a moment or two later was neat and tidy with his defending with the ball on the ground. Deschamps on from Lombard to Ambrosetti. That will go all the way to Petrescu. No, not quite, because Philip Neville again put into an awkward position by a ball coming from Chelsea's left to their right. Did get a touch. Silvestre. Leboeuf. Zola actually needed a call to tell him he got time then. Wise. On from Petrescu. Zola's onside. Ronnie Johnson heads it out. Well, for many teams, even teams that have won their championship, you would say that this could be an after the Lord Mayor's show sort of day, but it's a risky thing to say that about Manchester United. They have got such drive and determination. Beckham. Tom with the first header, and Leboeuf with the second. Men like David Beckham don't settle for just strolling through a game to see out the end of a season. And they'll be stung by that Chelsea equaliser from Petrescu. With a slight suggestion of a limp, and Beckham only spun away quickly then. Bench were looking questioningly at him. Roy Keane has an international date with the Republic of Ireland on Wednesday. They're playing Greece at Lansdowne Road. Got a problem here. That's surely going to be a free kick. Chelsea's way, Flow's way. Zola to take it, just past the half-hour mark. Chelsea were 1-0 down, looking here for an opening to go 2-1 in front. Lombard. Tom, blocked by Keane. Deschamps, who is rather from the hit and hope brigade. Goal scoring is not his natural forte. activity on the Manchester United bench. It's Gary Neville who's coming off. And Berg goes to the centre of the defence to play with Ronny Johnsen. So that's an all-Norwegian affair. Philip Neville's come to the right, and Mikael Silvestra's gone to left back. Giggs. Silvestra going ahead of Ryan Giggs in his new role. It's Giggs who concentrates on drilling in the cross himself. Now leaves it to Silvestra. Deschamps, wise. I'm sure he really wanted it there. Nicely done by Silvestra. Keane to Beckham. Good challenge by Lombard. Zola. Lombard again. Nice change of direction to catch out Butt. And Rossetti. Well, players forward for Chelsea here. Petrescu's pass very nearly got Torre-Andre Flo in. Just working on the back of the last defender, and it's an uncertain-looking Manchester United back line. It's been changed, one assumes through injury. And you're starting to see now what is riding on this game for Chelsea. I can tell you that Gary Neville has come off with a groin strain. Solskjaer. York. Keane. Now Philip Neville. Berth. Slightly better balance to get that than Solskjaer. Deschamps. Nibble out there, Philip Neville. Didier Deschamps, who was once sent off on this ground playing for Juventus against Manchester United. So just over 10 minutes to go to half-time. The champions won, Chelsea won. Silvestra. Keane. Berth did that with great intelligence, really. It's great when it comes off. Deschamps. Flo. Petrescu got Zola to work with here. Here's Zola. Chelsea lead by 2-1. It wasn't the most clinical finish, but that doesn't matter. Manchester United, who were beaten here by Real Madrid only last week, they haven't lost a Premiership game on this ground for more than 16 months. But Chelsea have given them problems in the past, and Zola bounces Chelsea in front. And they've come back from 1-0 down to lead by 2-1. Here's Ambrosetti. Well, certainly the signs have been there since Chelsea cleared their heads about the maybe the early kick-off time and the strange nature of going a goal behind. Zola, who scored an equalising goal in this fixture last season. It finished 1-1. Well, it won't finish 1-1 today. Chelsea needing a win. Gary Neville can only sit and watch. His path in the action is over. Tom fouled by Solskjaer. It's going to be a booking. The card is out. And it's now shown. So they're going to Solskjaer pull that. So much of this Premiership season has gone Manchester United's way. They've only lost 3 of the 34 games they played in the league until today. Beaten at Newcastle, at Spurs, and of course heavily at Chelsea. Teddy Sheringham doing some stretches. Chelsea had to stretch their advantage here. Solskjaer. Picked off by Deschamps. Petrescu. That's not the best ball by Didier Deschamps. Gave Melchiot a real problem. Giggs. But York. Chelsea getting men into the melee there, but York came out with the ball. Keane trying to play it wide to Silvestre. Butt will take over. Silvestre again. Dwight York was nicely found by Nicky Butt, but the crowd a little aggravated that York didn't make more of that. Neville. Beckham was balked off the ball, well off the ball. Here's Giggs. Solskjaer. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer steers Manchester United level at 2-2. And his ability to take chances is quite remarkable. They were sucked across a little bit, Chelsea. Solskjaer checked back onto his right foot. And maybe the goalkeeper's view was masked when the shot was released. But Ed de Gea has to pick it out for a second time. And it's been a 4-goal first 40 minutes here. Two apiece. Wise. Well, Keane has presented it to Petrescu. Giggs. Now York. So we'll count off the goals on the remainder of the season in the league for Manchester United. 89 now. Is number 90 on the horizon? Beckham. Wise back in alongside Emerson Tom. Chelsea come here with pretty impressive statistics in the league. They've lost only one of their last 18 in the Premiership, but that was away to Sheffield Wednesday recently. They were held at home by Middlesbrough on Saturday. Precious points lost at a crucial stage of the season. Petrescu. Ambrosetti. It's offside. Given against Zola. given against Zola, but it shouldn't have been. Giggs on the rampage. He's lost his footing, and Leboeuf wasn't responsible for that. And Ryan Giggs isn't making a fuss. Zola. Now Wise. Well, you feel that either side are capable of getting a goal at any moment. And that makes it very enjoyable viewing from the neutral perspective. Giggs was in, but stumbling. Philip Neville. Solskjaer. Tom. That rather unconvincing Manchester United penalty claim. But trying to get around the outside of Wise. Enough contact there of an illegal nature to give Manchester United the free kick and a chance to reclaim the lead. 1-0 up, 2-1 down, now 2-2. Keane. But Keane, York, quite Christmas that was needed there. Deschamps. Meaty clearance from Raymond van der Houw. Travelled a long way to be controlled well by Solskjaer. York. Caught from behind by Tom. Beckham. Both coming out with it and going on. Zola. Leboeuf's out of position, but Chelsea have got cover. Manchester United have got 3 up ahead of Beckham. Keane is one of those. Roy Keane driving on. Beckham again. And by his standards, that's a wasteful cross. But a few seconds there that encapsulated the game. Chelsea counter-attacking. Frank Leboeuf, one of the centre-backs, looking to be an extra attacker. Zola lost the ball and seemed to just get damaged slightly in the process. And then Manchester United counter-attacking themselves. Pace and promise. Melchiot. By Berg. Free kick's going to go Manchester United's way this time. 1 extra minute to be added. We're into stoppage time. York. Beckham. And it's Philip Neville. Not like handball. It's going to be a goal for Solskjaer. No, it's not, because his normal deadliness there deserted him. It would have been one disputed by Chelsea. Steve Dunn saying it hit Philip Neville on the shoulder, on the collarbone sort of area. And he wasn't going to give handball. It would have been Manchester United back in front, but Solskjaer, most unaccountably for him, skied it. So that brings the first half to a close, and if you thought this might just be a flat occasion with so much decided, exits from the Champions League for these clubs, the Championship won by Manchester United, you'd have been wrong, because it's been an engrossing affair with 4 first-half goals. Petrescu and Solskjaer in on the act, a strange one for Dwight York. And Gianfranco Zola, who's been so short of goals in the Premiership, gets one here in the first half against Alec Ferguson's team. So the manager tight-lipped. The players who have such a competitive instinct not satisfied. So more to come at half-time at Old Trafford. It's Manchester United 2, Chelsea 2. Welcome back to Old Trafford. 2 goals each between Manchester United and Chelsea. And talk of 2 changes for Chelsea for the second half. Certainly Jody Morris, the homegrown midfield man, is taking his tracksuit top off. He's out on the pitch. He's getting some instructions from Ray Wilkins. And John Harley is ready to come on. And Ambrosetti is off. Harley, left-sided player, could well go into Ambrosetti's slot. And Jody Morris is coming on for Didier Deschamps. So a first half that started sluggishly and developed into a real sluggy match in terms of goals at both ends. And chances as well, extra chances. It could have easily been more than the 2 apiece that we have to this point. So sit back and enjoy the second half here. As Chelsea to embarrass the recently confirmed champions. Wise, Morris. Just United already, let me remind you, with a substitute of their own on, Henning Berg, for the injured Gary Neville. York and Solskjaer at the sharp end, and they've been sharp so far with a goal apiece. Keane, but really trying to give on board some help here. Keane, with the feeling that he got to the ball, maybe just got a piece of Beckham as well. Certainly late that time. Bit unlucky, Bernard Lambourd. He was disputing the merit of the first free kick, and then he suddenly had to set off. He was just a little bit distracted, and then he sent Philip Neville tumbling, and the referee tallying those 2 tackles up and making them equal a yellow card for Bernard Lambourd. Beckham takes. Well, Keane was in there with what looked like a dangerous header for a fraction of a second. Corner. Keane working it short with Beckham. Philip Neville. I would be surprised if there are no more goals in this game, I must say. The side short of influential defenders. Yapstam rested by Manchester United. Marcel Desailly, who's been at Chelsea for 2 seasons, hasn't played any of the 4 Premiership games against Manchester United. By coincidence, nothing else. He did take part in the 2 FA Cup quarter-finals between these 2 clubs last season. Morris. And Petrescu certainly onside. Giggs trying to get back. Ball breaks for Zola. Chelsea have got 4 players forward. Zola. Shot against Silvestre. Flow. Berth, seemingly the worst for those 2 first-half injuries. Silvestre. Solskjaer now on 14 goals for the season in all competition for Manchester United. York's moved up to 21. One behind Andy Cole, who's not even on the bench today. Silvestre. Replacement is going to be made by Manchester United. Not sure who's coming off, but it's going to be Paul Scholes coming on into the 4th minute of the second half. Here that ended with Zola on the ground with Henning Berg. It's Roy Keane who's coming off. And Ronnie Johnson holding the captain's armband. I'm not sure who to give it to. He's trying to get some guidance from the bench. Scholes is on. So in need of quite lengthy attention. And finally they decided that Ryan Giggs should be captain. With Van Nistelrooy, Sir Alec Ferguson says, is bought for the future. Still got some development in his game. Well, he's already a Dutch international. Leboeuf. Giggs. Silvestre. It's a good idea. Played by Harley. Johnson's header. Every passing minute out there will ease some of the rustiness out of Ronnie Johnson's game. Silvestre. Well defended by Lombourd. Melchiot. The comment I just made about Johnson also applies to Mario Melchiot, who was actually introduced as a new signing to the Chelsea fans back in August with his foot in plaster. It must have been pretty embarrassing to be on crutches out on the Stamford Bridge pitch. He's at least now the chance to show that he is a player. York withstanding the nudge from Frank Leboeuf. Scholes. He's only given it to Wise, though. Harley. That Chelsea have produced through their own ranks. Wise and Morris, much more English feel to the midfield. There is the Romanian Dan Petrescu, though, on the right. Morris. Quite get away. Scholes still in trouble, in fact, confident enough to hang on to the ball rather than pass it riskily back to the goalkeeper and wait for Morris to foul him, which duly happened. York. Both sides have had the lead in this game. It's level at 2-2. 7 minutes gone in the second half. Beckham. Petrescu. Screened well by Flo. Melchior. It's a good take by Petrescu. Morris. Harley come in from the left to link up with Petrescu. Morris again. Beckham just keeping the shape defensively on that right-hand side for Manchester United, but it was good charging down by Harley. Haven't quite clicked into gear so far in the second half, the champions. Scholes. On board in the right place. I think Beckham might have been offside. Well forward when the ball was actually struck. Wise. Leboeuf. Oh dear, caught out by York. Frank Leboeuf really needed a call. Scholes. York in the midfield area again, and Leboeuf making sure he stays there for a moment at least. Beckham. Now on board. It's there ahead of Butt. Zola coming in from the right. Flo. Looking for Wise. Oh, unlucky. Well, Bernard Lambourde really triggered that off with his enterprise. And Chelsea carried it on well. Through Zola and Flo. It wasn't an easy ball for Wise to strike. And in some ways you can say he did very well to come that close. Given their other fixtures, given that they've got to this stage, very much in the match at Old Trafford, you could make a case for saying, really, Chelsea are going to get into the top three. They have to go on in what remains and win this game. Certainly a real tonic for home to Liverpool, away to Arsenal. They finish off at home to Derby. Here's Morris. Wise. Melchiot. Can't slip it through to Zola. Just the feeling that even though they're not going at full tilt, Manchester United, they've got the wherewithal here to manufacture chances on the break. They so often do that. A bruise in that painful area down towards the base of the spine for Nicky Butt. Butt in particular hasn't got happy memories of that 5-0 defeat at Stamford Bridge in October. He was sent off in that game in an incident with Wise. 61,593. The attendance confirmed today. It's the vehicle in the sky that's giving us those lovely aerial pictures. Cruyff has been very much in the shadows this season. A chance to step out into the sunlight and the spotlight for Manchester United. Leboeuf. Expected backing. Ed De Goey kicked that one well. Philip Neville. Zola scampering back in. Long board. That's a fine ball played first time to John Harley. Not quite so high quality from Harley. It won't need me to tell him that he missed an opportunity there to maybe carve out a chance for Chelsea. Leboeuf. Silvestre taking a risk, making Johnson scurry. He can't deal with it. Wise on the scene. Harley coming in from the left, wanted an early cross. Maybe should have got it. He got inside Philip Neville. Morris. Everybody in midfield being allowed to pass the ball in the middle third as they like. It's a bit more tenacious, especially with Butt back on. In the defensive parts of the pitch. Petrescu, he can make some ground here. Wise, trying to flight it for Flo. Philip Neville's header, and Beckham. And Harley doing the closing down. Gianluca Vialli, as a player for Chelsea, scored a deciding goal back in '96 when Chelsea won here 2-1. But they haven't got themselves ahead, having led 2-1 today. Still level pegging at 2 goals each. More than half an hour to go, though. Leboeuf. Wise. Well, actually, Torre-Andre Flo neither wanted the ball then, nor was in a fit state to receive it. He's limping. And on board, making it happen for Chelsea. Still Lombard. Harley, who scored a winning goal recently away to Leeds United. It would be quite a double to do the same at Old Trafford. Tom. Forward for United by Butt, and for Chelsea by Wise. Zola, Petrescu, Flo trying to stay onside, indicating Petrescu couldn't have the ball straight away, and they worked that well between them. That's a back pass by Giggs, and if Zola had just seen it a little earlier, he might have intervened. It wasn't the wisest move from the Manchester United number 11. He'll be happier going in this direction. Against 3. Wise. Zola. That's by Silvestre. Petrescu. Melchior saw Flo, found him. He in turn finds Wise. There's a neat method about Chelsea. What they don't have is real pace or truly natural width either. Oh no, Raymond van der Houw trying to show Ed de Goey how it should be done. He did it, but it was maybe not quite as fluent and fluid as he was hoping for, and Sir Alex Ferguson might just have had a heart-stopping moment then. Harley. Beckham thought it was handball. The referee didn't. Morris. Beckham's angry. There you are, that's that volatile side of him. It is, in essence, part of the makeup that makes him such a great player. And he thought he should have had a free kick. Rather than just to carry on an even keel, he was fired up, overstepped the mark, a booking for Beckham. Lombard. Morris, one of the scorers in that 5-0 romp against Manchester United for Chelsea. Few who left that ground that day would have imagined that we'd be here today for the return game with Manchester United, having galloped away with the league title. What they have shown, each time they have lost, they've come back with the determination and the class of champions. Philip Neville. And now Butt for Beckham. Philip Neville again. Manchester United have 3 moving into the middle. Solskjaer going towards the near post. Here he is! It's his movement that Chelsea didn't track. Good spot by Philip Neville with a cross. Morris. Dive in, as sometimes he does do. He picks up a lot of yellow cards for mistimed tackles, but not so much in the heat of the moment as Beckham. It's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer who comes off, applauded by the manager. A scorer again for Manchester United today. He's not a talent that they're about to let go lightly with the new man, Van Nistelrooy, in the ground today and in the club next season. Speculation about the future of all the Manchester United strikers, given that there as a new competitor in that respect. The books even here have to be balanced somehow. York, there in front of Leboeuf. Beckham, turned away by Tom. Giggs, Jordi Cruyff trying to take up a central position here. The build-up for Manchester United on the right. Berg, Scholes, York. Phil Neville, Scholes. Decides to allow Beckham the cross, made him work for it, but he still delivers dangerously. It would be more dangerous if Cruyff hadn't lost his footing. Giggs. Tom turning away. He's served Chelsea well since the rather surprising signing of him from Sheffield Wednesday. Flo, he's only given it to Scholes. Giggs. Keane, Manchester United having seen Chelsea control the midfield for a spell, showing signs of getting back in the groove. What the fans are calling for is getting back in the lead. Beckham, not going to do it like that. So Beckham looking for Butt's pass, and he stood still. Just played the ball to where he thought Beckham was going. Wise. Petrescu, scorer of the first Chelsea goal today. Tom, pressed by York. Lombard. A bit lucky. It's dropped over the top by Tom, and Harley trying to reach it on the stretch and volley it back across the face of the goal would be the best that he could have hoped for. Johnson. Two real gritty characters in Jody Morris and Nicky Butt. Luca Vialli has one more change he can make. Manchester United have run all their permissible changes. Petrescu. Flo. And Henningberg, without ever looking the total master of that situation, has got his side a goal kick. This sort of incident must happen all the time when they're together in the Norwegian squad in training sessions. Flo, of course, the most feared forward, the main thrust for Norway, but not always a regular in his club side. Suggestions that he might be at pastures new next season. York, but trying to drive on. Good tackle by Lombard. Cruyff. Here's Philip Neville. York. He's got a trick against Tom, and if he has, wasn't the right one. Tom again. Petrescu. Wise. Here's Leboeuf. Space in which to express himself with his cultured passing. By his standards, maybe just changed his mind at the last minute. It was a clumsy piece of work from Zola. Giggs. Fine tackle by Melchiot. He's just shown the ball too much to Jordi Cruyff. And Beckham First touch took him a bit wide. Here's York. Manchester United are in front. 3-2. A second today for Dwight York. And still a quarter of the game to go. The chance seemed to be there for Beckham himself. But just look at the way his first touch just widens the angle out. Here. But the goalkeeper got a strong parry to it. But in there poaching was York. Now Manchester United in front again. Can they hang on to it? With still more than 20 minutes to go. It was York who scored twice in the FA Cup quarter-final replay last season at Stamford Bridge, knocked Chelsea out. Big part in Manchester United going on to win that trophy. Morris, Leboeuf. So Zola's flick just gone a bit further forward. Petrescu, we've had an opportunity, but it's the same old story for Manchester United. It's not been a vintage performance from them today. You'd expect maybe a slight reaction to their success, even from gritty competitors such as these players on board, but they're in the sort of situation they have been in many times this season when the opposition have scored against them, and they're just in the business of scoring more. Corner off Philip Neville. Not the warmest of welcomes from Denis Suarez, but he knows that anonymous players don't get that sort of attention. Wise with the corner, and Howe deciding to take charge at the near post. Tom, but Silvestre gets the header in. York. Philip Neville. Scholes. Beckham. Almost see Chelsea wilting here. Philip Neville's cross. York's on the hat-trick. Oh, it's stopped by a startled goalkeeper right on the line from Jordi Cruyff. York going for goal, no doubt about that. Ended up a half-decent pass to the man in the centre. And De Geu's momentum almost took him into the net himself, but he stuck out an arm and kept it out. Petrescu, Melchiot. Now Morris. Lombard. In from Harley. Giggs skips past Melchiot. Emerson Tom trying to buy Chelsea a bit of time here. That's difficult against Ryan Giggs on this sort of run. Still Giggs, and Leboeuf got in front of York to cut out the cross. Good defensive play from him, astute positioning. Zola. Well, Chelsea responded very positively to York's first goal of the game. They've got to do the same again. All flow. Actually got into space between Johnson and Silvestre. Scholes. Chelsea going to make their third substitution here. They're taking off one of their scorers today, Dan Petrescu, and bringing on Chris Sutton, whose only Premiership goal this season came against Manchester United in the 5-0 win in October. They've been calling him, the newspapers here, a £10 million misfit. Some supporters would, of course, take a different slant on it, but he certainly hasn't scored as often as he would like. Just 3 goals in all competitions, and as I say, 1 against Manchester United. Funny enough, he's got an impressive record against this club, which not too many forwards have. He's scored against Manchester United, for Norwich, for Blackburn and for Chelsea. And he's got a chance now to put a plus onto his rather problematic season. He can help Chelsea to equalise in the quarter of an hour or so that remains. Wise. 2-2 at half-time. 1 goal in the second half has gone the way of the champions against Chelsea. Leboeuf. Morris on the scamper again. Has to be a ball boy at Chelsea. Here he is, Jody Morris. Trying to show what he can do with the ball out on the pitch. Beckham's pass. Working hard to try and hunt down the hat-trick here. Manchester United have so many other players capable of scoring. Beckham. Bit of a hospital pass for Butt. And Melchiot coming out with encouraging fitness for Chelsea. Only his second Premiership game. The first was on Saturday. Zola. Heading out by Johnson. Sutton really needs him coming in from a better angle than that. Always likely to be a defender's ball. Lombard. Melchiot. Who's got between 2? Mario Melchiot. And Flo, diverted onto the top of the crossbar and over. Henningberg's touch. Whether the goalkeeper would have made a save, we'll never know. But, my goodness me, the corner's not been given. Quite clearly, off Berg, off the bar. And that's over Tom. Leboeuf trying to help out his fellow centre-back against York. Now he's had to pull away, and extra challenge came from Lombard. Jordi Cruyff. Melchiot couldn't do much there, but rather launch himself side on against the Dutchman, whose surname is so famous that he opts for his Christian name on his shirt because of his father's high calibre. That Jordi Cruyff, although he's a fine footballer, the Johan Cruyffs come along very, very rarely. Anyway, it's David Beckham coming along here. Remember, he, like York, started the day on Manchester United 49 goals. York's gone beyond the 50 with 2. Is this Beckham's moment? Rather like the one in the first half. Giving him the big build-up, he's hit it into the wall. Silvestre will reach Scholes, but that won't reach Butt. Wise got in the way. Giggs with a tackle against Melchiot. Johnson. Scholes. Giggs. players, I would think, haven't had too many matches in the warmth of these conditions in recent times. Scholes, Philip Neville, York, Beckham! Well, Ed de Goey looked round, fearing the worst, I think. But the bend on the ball just took it beyond the post. From Beckham. Scholes. Beckham. Philip Neville still full of running. So too. It's a Harley for Chelsea. It should be, of course, he only came on at half-time. Sutton. It's the sort of moment that's been around a bit too often for Chris Sutton, trying to show what he was made of, and the Austria pass was mishit. Leboeuf's labouring, but he's just found enough to hold off Jordi Cruyff. Wise, Leboeuf, Morris. 10 minutes to go at Old Trafford. Manchester United 3, Chelsea 2. And a switch back of the game, in which Manchester United have led 1-0 and been 2-1 behind. Melchior. Lombard. Tucked away by Jonsson. He's prepared to do that in that part of the pitch. Cruyff on for Beckham. Classy stuff from Manchester United. Scholes. Tally of goals for the season has now reached 90. 3 matches still to play. Jonsson. More confident now towards the end of the game than he was at the start. It's understandable. Oh, good thinking by York, can't be offside from the throw. Philip Neville. York. For Beckham. It's over all of those who committed in that Chelsea penalty area for Manchester United. Oh, Lombard taking a chance against the tenacity of Scholes. Tom. Zola. Morris. On from Lombard towards Torreandro Flo, got a touch, Sutton chasing. Neville having the pace on the ball, do the defending for him. A little bit of strong backbone against Sutton as well. The air of inevitability about Manchester United winning this title, and when they got their act going so splendidly after that crushing defeat at Newcastle that many of you might have seen with us, has somewhat detracted from maybe the wholesomeness of the praise. Win at Southampton on Saturday wasn't live on television in Great Britain. Sutton. Whistle had gone. Zola. Cruyff. Silvestre, York. Manchester United won't be resting on their laurels in the 7 minutes or so that remain. Giggs. He'll put a postscript to this game in some character that sums up what Manchester United are all about, but it didn't happen for them then. Some tugging by Silvestre on Flo. It's his first championship in England, of course. Silvestre, his first season here. Had a daunting place to make his debut for Manchester United away to Liverpool back in September. Was on the winning side then and has been in the majority of games that he's played since. Wise. Zola. Melchiot can turn. And, a corner. They didn't get one that they should have had earlier in the second half. Silvestre's look suggested he thought the final touch was off a Chelsea player, but it is a corner this time. And with Sutton there to try and show some real authority in the air. All is not yet lost for Chelsea. Still 5 minutes plus stoppage time to go. Not deep enough the corner from Gianfranco Zola. Wise. Drew that from Beckham, made sure that he got his body across, and Beckham, no way he could have braked. Now he will break out in support of Dwight York. But it's Giggs who has the acceleration. Crowd encouraging Giggs to go it alone. And he's wondering where the supporting cast was. Go to the right for Chelsea here. Lombard. Oh no, that's maybe tiredness as much as anything, but Dennis Wise was in acres of space on the touchline down below us, and it just needed a simple release from Lombard and into trouble. Lombard will have to certainly run back here because York is onside. A bit of showboating. Giggs, Beckham, Cruyff for Scholes. It just bounced up as he hit it, which suggested straight away it was always going to keep on rising. Like Manchester United over the last 8 years since the start of the Premiership, coming off the back of the Liverpool eras of the 70s and the 80s. This football club here in Manchester really got it right on the field at the time that the massive money came into the English game. And they're going to take some overturning. Roy Keane already saying, quoted in the papers this morning, that his ambition for Manchester United next season is to go unbeaten throughout the campaign. York. Still roll his way, no, not quite. Level with Cole, incidentally, 22 goals each, the joint top scorers. But they haven't relied on them. Flo. Can Chelsea get an equaliser late on here? Zola cushioning it impishly. Still Gianfranco Zola. It was a charge down by Scholes, and important for Manchester United in the context of this game that it was. Off goes Giggs again. Cross comes Emerson Tom. Doesn't seem to want to use the goalkeeper. Maybe after what happened in the first half you can understand why. Morris heads on. 2 minutes plus stoppage time to go. Chelsea 3-2 down. And Flo's offside. Good decision. Cruyff. Frank Leboeuf, who heads off after this game to an awards evening in France. Big night for French football. Desailly, Chelsea will be there as well, though they're not out here now. Deschamps taken off at half-time. Desailly not involved today. Maybe Sir Alec Ferguson, by the standards of Manchester United, might think that his players haven't been as involved as they usually are, but they are still winning as they usually are. Lombard. Remember, they're coming into this game with all that emotional excess and the excitement of winning the title as recently as last Saturday. Misjudged by Johnson. Leboeuf, Wise. There's about 75 seconds to go, including stoppage time, and Silvestre can't cut it out. In fact, it didn't matter because referee Dunn has pulled it back for a Chelsea free kick. And this might well be the last opportunity. On my watch, we are into time added on. Sutton on the move towards Chris Sutton. Well, Gianluca Vialli will still be warmed, whatever this season brings, by the memories of Sutton and those who are at his side, playing so well to demolish Manchester United at Stamford Bridge in October. I don't know whether you can call this revenge. I don't think Manchester United really were going into it too much with that in mind. There's been a lot of good rivalry between these two clubs down the years, and Chelsea, as we pointed out earlier to you today, have often thwarted Manchester United up here in Manchester. Morris trying to do the same again. Diggs. He's not giving it up. And Diggs trying to knock the ball away so that the free kick couldn't be taken quickly. Leboeuf. Well, we're into the second minute of time added on. It's an 8th Premiership win in a row for the Reds, who are simply the best in the English game. They've had to work very hard for it here against a determined Chelsea side with their own agenda. Dwight York embarrassed Ed de Gea with his first goal, catching the goalkeeper in possession, and scored the goal in the second half that won the game for Manchester United. In between Petrescu and Zola, a rare Premiership goal from him put Chelsea in front. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer equalised before half-time. The players not hurrying off. There's a lot of rivalry between these two sets of performers, but a lot of respect as well. And of course there's thanks from the dressing room to the crowd in the way that the players are going to the home support, those who didn't get to the Dell on Saturday, the vast majority of them. It's a welcome back for Ronnie Johnson, he'll be pleased with that. Ruud van Nistelrooy, well, it's a welcome to Manchester United for him, and he will certainly add to the strength here next season. But today's cast have done it again. They've won again, and Chelsea are going to find it hard now to finish in the top 3 or even the top 4. Final score at Old Trafford, it is Manchester United 3, Chelsea 2.